What is up, geeks and geekettes? It's another episode of the Countdown to the Geekcast. My name is Steady. With me on this episode is the man, the myth, the legend. You know him as JC.
Hey, everybody. And real quickly to Ted's brother, Derek. Fuck you for saying something about my Titans on social media. I didn't need you piling on, asshole. How's it going, everybody? Yeah.
What a way to start the show.
Yeah. We're talking Peacemaker. There's going to be a lot of cussing. But anyway, go ahead.
Oh my god. And we also got the man behind the magic, the one and only Joe Garcia.
It was a great weekend for NFL football. I enjoyed everything, even the Titans ass whooping. So
You
it
shut
was
up. Okay.
good.
I'm done. Good night,
We'll pour
everybody.
some out for you, JC. It's a tough loss, brother. Tough loss. I felt
Absolutely.
for you.
Listen,
I,
and we're
I'm
not.
not going to get into it. I'll get into my full thoughts. Stay tuned to the Sports Minorities podcast this week. I'm sure they'll give me some time to explain everything because that'll give me until then to gather everything. So,
A lot of upsets, JC. A lot of upsets.
yeah.
Absolutely. But listen, let's not talk about it, but let's just acknowledge it was arguably the greatest weekend of playoff games in the history of the NFL. Arguably. Yes?
Yes, pour some out for JC though.
Except
Man.
for one game result. But yeah, sure. God damn it.
We have a great show for you guys that won't be about the Titans losing, or else JC is going to quit the show. So, what we're going to be talking about today is all about Boba Fett, episode 4. I see you, Rudy. What's going on, sir? How you doing? How you
Rudy.
doing? We're also going to be talking about Peacemaker, episode 4. Brett's in the chat. Fan of the
Congrats to your
Rams.
Rams. Congrats to your Rams,
you,
man.
Brett.
The Whams.
They're killing it. They're
The
killing it.
Whams. I call them the Whams because every time they lose, the fans start crying about something, man.
Oh my god.
Let's
I'm
see how
telling
much Jimmy G owns that franchise this weekend. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
And we're also going to be talking about Superman and Lois, episode 2. Season 2 is off to a great start, and we can't wait to talk about all of that. So, 3 shows we're talking about today, continuing our discussion on those 3 shows. But first, I wanted to bring up something that happened over the weekend. Everybody's excited for the Batman film featuring Robert Pattinson, and I feel
JC
like
was
even
about to mute you.
what?
You're my best. It's
JC
going to
was
start happening on the weekends. Like I thought we were going to talk about that, Ted. Jesus Christ.
JC was about to mute you. He thought you were gonna say something. He was like, boop.
Anyways, I think that the sort of the negative stigma for Robert Pattinson playing Bruce Wayne has gone down a lot. I don't think anybody's talking about that anymore. And then Robert Pattinson has been doing a lot of interviews recently, and so I wanted to talk about one of the statements he said and get your guys' opinion on it. So
Okay.
I'm not gonna get the magazine or the interviewer right, so I'm not gonna bring it up. But in an interview with Robert Pattinson, he had this to say about Batman. Quote: "There is this rule with Batman: he must not kill. It can be interpreted in 2 ways. Either he only wants to inflict the appropriate punishment, or he wants to kill, and his self control prevents him from doing so." End quote. That's from the Robert Pattinson, Bruce Wayne, coming up from the Batman, and it started a great, well, not a great. It started another conversation on Twitter, and it brought out a lot of individuals who said, "Finally, this is the Batman we've been waiting for," and this and that. And I had to interject, and I had to tell people and remind them that it's great that Robert Pattinson has this rule, or this Bruce Wayne is going to have this no kill rule early in his career. This is Batman is like his second year of crime fighting that we're expecting. But it's not something we haven't already seen before. Most recently, Ben Affleck's Batman, who was late in his career as Batman or in that timeline as Bruce Wayne. And I told people on Twitter, like, this is exactly what I said. I said, Ben's Batman is the same. He shouldn't kill. That was the whole point of Batman v Superman. He went crazy, and even Alfred could not reason with him. You are not supposed to cheer for Batman in BVS. He's one of the antagonists. And even though he lost his way, he finds his way back. And that's the character arc in that movie. I want to ask you guys because I know it's probably not as clear as day, but in your opinion, does Batman in the Snyderverse, did he have a no kill rule, or did you always just kind of assume this Batman just kills freely? Joe, we'll start with you, man. Did you ever think about that? That ever pop into your head? Or do you just kind of assume, he's in a really bad place in his life right now?
No, I just always assumed that he was going to have the same mantra as any other Batman, meaning that you're going to go and apprehend the criminals, but leave them to justice, to go ahead and either be put into Arkham Asylum or in prison, jail, whatever, But I always assumed it was unspoken that this Batman did not just kill freely, just, that's not the Batman kind of way.
Mhm.
I like that. I like that. JC, same question, man.
I never thought of this one as like he had a moral compass not to kill. He would do what was necessary. It's not like he wouldn't kill just to kill. He would if it was justified and if he had to. The dude was branding criminals for crying out loud.
But he
But
wasn't killing, he was
it
maiming.
wasn't killing, it was maiming, which is it's borderline. It's pretty dark. But my thoughts on like what are the rules of this universe? The DC extended universe, BVS, whatnot. Those went out the window in Man of Steel when we saw Superman kill Zod, and I recall that mostly because um, my sister, who watched Smallville with me and understood the no kill rule Superman had, but he always seemed to find another way. That's how she always remembered him. But when he had to kill Zod in that instance at the end of Man of Steel, it was like, okay, if he had, it was like kill or be killed, the last resort thing, he would do it. And I think that did kind of transfer a bit to Batman. I like your explanation, Ted, that he was the villain of that story. He was ready to kill Superman because he thought that was the only way he was going to save the world. That it had to be done. So it's not that he didn't have a no kill rule, but he had a rule that if he felt he was justified in doing it for a greater good type thing, that he would. So that's my.
Somebody when I mentioned that, I wrote that to somebody on Twitter, and of course, like, it went back and forth with
Of course it does.
a dozen or so people. Like, that's what Twitter's for to begin with.
Yeah, I
But
should say the rest of Twitter world. Jesus Christ.
I don't even want to touch wrestling Twitter. But somebody said to me, like, that's not logical. No, that's a, a logical way of thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Bruce Wayne wasn't thinking logically. Alfred in BVS, from the beginning of the film to the end of the film, until Ben or Bruce Wayne finally flipped the switch, he kept telling him, like, bro, you're out of control. What? We're criminals now? This is the rage that consumes people. I've seen it. I've seen it turn good men cruel. Like, it's in there. And somebody said to me, like, bro, that's all subtext. I'm like, no, bro, these are literal lines from the movie. Like, there's no other way to put it. You know what I thought about today? Actually, BVS came out many, many years ago. Feels like 10 years ago. And this is the first time I thought about this. Not only does Bruce Wayne go bad in Batman v Superman for the first time, I'm telling you, like, after the events of Man of Steel, Bruce Wayne goes crazy. He goes crazy. He's overwhelmed. He has no idea how to combat an alien from outer space who can level a city without trying. It's not only the first time that Bruce Wayne goes bad, but I feel like it's also the first time Lex Luthor goes bad. Like, Lex wasn't always evil. Lex wasn't always sort of I don't know, self-righteous, power hungry, any of those things. I really feel like it was almost a parallel that took Bruce Wayne and Lex Luthor down the same path, but they ended up in two different areas, right? Bruce Wayne sees the error of his ways by the end of BVS, and Lex Luthor, he goes even further down the rabbit hole. But it's the first time I've thought about it. Like, Lex Luthor was never evil until the events of Man of Steel, and then for the 2 years between Man of Steel and BVS, he actually turns into an evil villain. That's like his origin story. Without Superman, there's no evil Lex Luthor. It's a crazy way of thinking about it, but it's the first time I thought about that.
Maybe. I mean, Lex makes mention of his father a little bit too. I think the thoughts were always there. It's just that that gave him the excuse, you know, seeing Superman's reveal and everything like that. But yeah, I mean, one appearance of a superhero doesn't make you as crazy and as psycho as he was, you know. So
Yeah.
you know,
Uh, cool. Then let's go ahead. I just want to get off my chest.
hmm.
It's a quote from Pattinson that's a great one, but it's brought up more controversy online. Just people talking about Keaton and Bale and all these other Batmans that have killed or not killed, and people, kind of what is it called? Moving the goalpost on what defines a murder. Like people have said Bale's Batman didn't kill anyone. I'm like, bro, he shot people with his plane. He blew up the League of Shadows home base.
um,
He threw Harvey Dent off a building scaffold. Like all these things are they led to the deaths of people. And I don't know how you can say like, oh, he never killed. No, he absolutely did, but
the,
people just try and stretch it out.
every Earth has a different interpretation of it. You know, some darker than others. Hell, even when it was the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover. Oh God, what's his face that voiced Batman for so many years?
Kevin Conroy.
Kevin Conroy. When they got to his Batman, he's the older Bruce Wayne, the retired one. But what did he have in his case? Trophies of villains that he said, "I'm done with this," and just killed villains. So you fight crime long enough, maybe eventually you get to that point. But
Isn't that
oh,
great?
yeah, that's would explain Affleck at that point too. He's been at it for a while. Um, that now will Pattinson's Batman kill in this movie? We might see one or two, but we don't know. I mean, 3 hours, something's bound to happen. And depending where they go with this, it might get to a point where this story is going to get pretty dark. So, but yeah, it's every iteration of Batman, every version has its own way of handling things, and you can't just assume what works with one is going to work with the other. There's just totally different look at it.
Yeah. Ryan's in the chat. What up,
Hey,
Ryan? He
Ryan.
says, to be honest, I think Lex would have been evil. He was obsessed. Sure, but if no Superman, if no Kryptonians land on Earth, like, does he have anything to be obsessed with? That's a good question. JC, also, I like you bringing up Kevin Conroy because like everybody forgets about that.
Yeah,
The best Batman, hands down, across any medium is Kevin Conroy from the animated series. And
we assume that he played the live action version of that animated series
we
Batman. Yeah,
absolutely are
yeah.
thinking that Kevin Conroy, when CW did the Elseworlds crossover event, that Kevin Conroy was playing Bruce Wayne from the animated series. And
Mhm.
it's both terrific and terrifying to think that the Bruce Wayne from the animated series ended up being the most evil Batman we've witnessed in any live action form. Everyone's most beloved Batman. Spoiler alert, sorry, but that was years ago, by the way.
Yeah,
Everyone's most beloved Batman in any iteration ended up becoming the most evil Batman of all time. So please, like, stop with the it's not black and white for this character.
no,
And I'm not trying to tell you that Batman should be a murdering psychopath. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if he crosses that line, there will be not a good reason, there will be a reason why something pushes him beyond insanity. And it's not good for him to go through that, but it is character growth to see a hero go through that. Tony Stark tried to kill Bucky. Wanda took over an entire town captive and tortured them. We just learned, spoiler alert, in No Way Home, Andrew Garfield's Spider Man stopped pulling his punches.
mm,
That's canon. How many people did Andrew Garfield put in the hospital? Maybe borderline killed after the death of Gwen Stacy. And that's canon now. You can't even argue that. And that's deep, but that's character growth, man. Like, that's just good writing.
all these superheroes are human. That's
Absolutely.
ultimately what it is, you know.
Except for Superman, who is Kryptonian.
Well, he's Kryptonian, yeah, but you know,
But he grew up in
give,
Kansas.
give give him some red K, or if he's raised by a Lutheran and becomes Ultraman, it's a different story. But yeah, I mean, of all the ones you mentioned there, arguably Batman and Iron Man are the most human of them all. No superhuman abilities, just except their bank accounts. So you know, even then, they are going to be the ones dealing with the most shit. So they're going to make the most mistakes.
You know,
I'm
one
gonna,
thing that I've always found interesting about villains and heroes is that they're both two sides of the coin.
Hmm.
yep,
A superhero could easily decide to go ahead and be a villain. All it takes sometimes is just a small little push. Usually it means something that's happened to them as far as a close, family member getting killed right in front of them. It could be something else that's traumatic within their lives and it leads them down a darker path, that they can't come out of. And sometimes they lean on on the help of family and friends, but if they're by themselves and they've, go ahead and have this traumatic event happen to them, they could easily flip the switch, and just go down a darker path. We've seen that with Superman, you
yeah.
know,
Hmm.
and the death of Lois Lane is the trigger for everything. So again, that fine line between both worlds is pretty amazing to see. I mean, I would like to see a character, that you really get into and you love. You put so much time and effort into them, and then something traumatic happens, and bam, they're the villain, but you still love them.
Funny how there's like two main quotes from the Dark Knight movie that can apply to superheroes in general. Joe, you just said it. Like madness just takes a little push,
Yeah,
or you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah.
John Cena, Roman Reigns. Uh,
I got the best example, JC, and you're gonna love this. Give me a second here. Ryan says, I guess in a way, maybe not intentionally. With BVS, he was killing on purpose because his Batman was totally different and tired of the shitty world that Superman brought. Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, the world was shitty before Superman got there, but sure, you know.
That's true. Injustice, Brett says, showed us how bad it could get.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And listen, JC, you're gonna get this right on the money. It's good. It's a great story. It's great drama to see our heroes fall. JC, what to this day is the greatest heel turn of all time in professional wrestling?
Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan.
Hmm.
The greatest moment, arguably the greatest moment in wrestling, professional wrestling history, is when Hulk Hogan, the greatest hero of all time, for decades he was everybody's American hero, superhero, went bad, turned evil. And even though he broke the hearts of millions of people, that's great
People
drama.
forget someone literally rushed the ring to try and attack Hogan when that happened in WCW. Y'all forget that. Go back and watch that clip. Like,
It was JC. I
no,
watched
it
it. It
wasn't.
was JC.
No, like I I've been off and on wrestling. I didn't watch a whole lot of WCW, but when Hogan turned heel, that made national news.
Yep.
And that brought a lot of people back. That really did bring a spark to the Monday Night Wars.
Yeah, the NWO.
Yeah. Now, eventually, yes, his character came out of that, went back into that, came out of it again. And then in real life, he became a villain when we found out how racist and all this other shit going on in his life is. So, who would have guessed that in some weird way the Iron Sheik would be the voice of reason in real life? But anyway, yeah, you want to look at it from a character standpoint. I mean, that's how it is. I mean,
That's great writing.
and now it's you almost want to see that. People have been begging for years to see John Cena turn heel. Never did it.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns did it. It's been the best year and a half of his career. So, but
But
that
he's also kind of been there before.
with the Shield, yeah, but not on his own. You know,
No, not
everyone
on his
hated him
own.
as face solo Roman because no one takes you seriously wearing a flapjack. Getting beat, you're still using the Shield music. He comes back, clean teeth, turns heel, and he's held the Universal Championship for God over 400 plus days. You know, and yeah, that's what you want to see. So um, it makes sense. Even Brian Danielson, hero for so long, he had his heel turn and it was great. But yeah, Hogan arguably is the biggest one. That brought people back to wrestling. That sparked the Monday Night Wars, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah.
So,
All that to say that seeing any DC comics or Marvel comics or even Star Wars character for that matter
mhm.
turn evil or be tempted with turning evil, a la Luke Skywalker, Ray in the sequel trilogy, maybe. Like, that's just good drama. That's great writing. That's fantastic storytelling. And people should never, never say, oh, Batman was trying to fight Superman. That makes it a bad movie. Like, no, that makes it interesting. That makes it a great story. And we need there's a lot of fans out there that need to not be so concrete about putting their superheroes into boxes. And they only do that with like two heroes, Superman and Batman.
Mhm.
Everybody else, free reign. You can do whatever you want. But
People
anytime you
forget.
mess with those guys, then everybody goes and blows their lid.
People forget too that the Christopher Reeve / Brandon Routh Superman also turns evil. We find that out in the Crisis. You know,
Yeah.
what he becomes a Kingdom Come Superman, arguably an evil Superman because Lois is killed. That sparks him going crazy. So, um, if the Snyderverse plays out, that Superman's going to turn evil. If that's the plan, So,
There you
um,
go.
there's a lot to that. Yeah.
Cool. So Ryan's also in here says, hate to say it. Oh no. Superman is not that smart compared to other heroes. One could argue that he comes from Krypton, but he did not learn their teachings, not counting Smallville. LOL. Which brings us that context of development and of becoming Superman. Maybe. I mean, his parents are still scientists. His dad, for sure. His dad, Jor-El's a scientist, so he has to have some. He's got to
It's some
be
Kryptonian
smart.
knowledge. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's almost like a Matrix thing. Hey, I need to learn something. Let me go to the fortress and plug this sucker in.
But
Um,
Kryptonians are naturally conquerors. That's what they're trying to do because their homeworld is in flux, and
if they
they're
were farmed, they were conquerors, and that's the
yeah.
difference. Is that Kal-El was natural
He
born.
was
So
born, yeah, natural,
he was
yeah.
natural born. He was raised as a human. But yeah, a lot of his knowledge came from him finding the fortress, learning from the crystals, and even then, when certain villains, and this has long been in the comics, when certain villains show up, he's relying on the fortress to teach him what is going on with them, and
You
oftentimes he
see,
has
but I think that's also Superman's greatest weakness is that it's his humanity. Because when he goes
yeah,
up against a villain that just doesn't care, doesn't have any emotions, it's not tied to some type of mantra that you got to live by and
Yeah.
care about these people, he has trouble with them, because they're just flat out badasses and just want to lay waste to him. They got that I don't give a fuck attitude.
yeah.
And Superman's all, don't kill the earthlings. I care about them. And they're like, who
Well,
cares?
I don't know if we're not going to get a Superman and Lois then, but what we see happening this season, we'll see how Tyler Hoechlin takes care of that because this
I
is
got I got a theory about this, JC. I'll share it
oh
with you
my
when we
gosh,
get into it.
yeah,
Do not forget when we bring it up, all right?
yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you for
get the recording. We got the recording.
please do. Thank you for indulging me. Like, it's not to say that it bothers me every time this conversation comes up, but this has already been confirmed by Zack Snyder, Chris Terrio. Like, that was their entire plan, was to make Bruce Wayne go crazy beyond any logic or reason. Even Alfred couldn't reason with him, and so I had to bring it up because again, it's in the news. BVS came out so many years ago, and yet this is still something that people who watched the movie weren't able to understand. And I don't put that on the film. I feel like it's all there. It's all evidence for people to kind of see and to run with. And I really hope that I don't know, more people will start to understand in the years to come what exactly transpired with that Bruce Wayne, where his psyche was at, how Man of Steel and those events and the fall of Metropolis affected him. And eventually, we can all just come to appreciate seeing a new take on Bruce Wayne, seeing him fall and have to pick himself back up, like
I, I think
Batman's done so many times before.
I think what has helped that movie and Man of Steel is time. It's much in the same vein as the Star Wars prequels. A lot of people hated them when they came out, but over time, people have started to realize how important they are and how appreciative of them. And you could argue the same for the sequel trilogy, but that's a discussion for another time. But
You
over
said not a
time,
Jar Jar fan?
huh? Yeah,
You said not a Jar
not
Jar
a lot of
fan.
people are. Maybe that's the reason we didn't see him very much, but he had an important role to play. But it's the same for Man of Steel. It's the same for BVS. What's helped those is that Zack Snyder did his live stream commentary about the films, which shed a lot of light. And you realize too, when you get down to the real version of the Justice League movie, how important those films are in setting all that up.
You
Yeah.
see this comment from Ryan? He says Batman better than Superman. Yep, hit
Oh,
that up,
right. When we
Joe.
record Island of Reality this week, I'm gonna give you shit. Trust me. But we always just give each other crap like that. So it's fun.
Brett's still in the chat. BVS showed us how anyone, no matter how mentally and emotionally strong they are, can be pushed over the edge. Absolutely. And
Yes.
it's not even to say that this Batman's never been tested. Joker murders a Robin.
Mhm.
Which Robin is for you to debate and decide. But he
Yeah.
did lose a sidekick, and he never killed the Joker after that happened. So he's been pushed to his limits before in that timeline, in the Snyderverse timeline, and he didn't take it out on the Joker as bad as he probably would have or people would have expected him to if he's just this murdering, killing psycho of a person. So clearly, yeah, he's
It's funny you
had
bring that
to
up.
hold back before.
It's funny you bring that up. The latest season of Titans, Robin, you know,
Yeah.
Todd's killed. Batman just goes and slaughters Joker and just takes off, and then the rest plays out. So
We're not gonna bring up that Batman. I don't know. We are not gonna bring up that Batman. Ryan says it's not the film, it's the audience not understanding how complex Batman's position was at and the vision of DC. We got so used to Marvel formula and they were in a hot streak that year. Can't compare them, but it's only human nature for us to compare. Yeah, I agree. If there's no Marvel around, then there's a good chunk of people that are gonna say, "Oh, it's cool what DC's doing." But because Marvel's doing everything a certain way, everybody
Warner
gets an
Brothers can't
origin
just let shit play out. So
because everybody on the Marvel side was getting an origin movie, with the exception of uh, Scarlet, Natasha at the beginning, and I guess that was it. Oh, and Hawkeye, he didn't get an origin, but everybody else got an origin movie. So they think everybody in DC should start out with an origin movie, and yet, like the Snyder cut, we ended up finding out that it was an origin movie for a lot of people. It was Cyborg's origin movie. Technically, it was like Aquaman's origin movie. It was also the
Flash.
Flash's origin movie, like ended up being a much bigger movie for these characters than we anticipated. And I love that. Okay, cool. Listen, I appreciate you guys indulging me. Thank you
Mhm.
so much. We need to talk about these TV shows or else we're never going to finish. Let's go ahead and start out with the breakthrough, the breakout show, and that is of course Peacemaker. Everybody's loving it. Everybody's talking about it. I'm gonna go ahead and quickly do a summary of the episode, and then I want you guys to go ahead and talk about the biggest takeaways and what
I'm always
You
else.
on
got to do the
choreography.
intro dance. Do
I'm
the
trying to
intro
work on the
dance.
choreography. Yeah,
Do
I'm
the
gonna
intro
giggle at
dance,
the end
Joe.
where he's just like, yeah. So
Here we go. Summary for episode. You know what? Okay, we didn't talk about episode 2, right? JC or 3.
Yeah.
Oh my god! It just
We need a
reminded me
summary.
of it.
Let's just talk about this show in general. It's
Did
fucking
you
great.
see episodes 2 and 3 yet?
I did catch up now. Yeah, I'm all
Okay.
fully caught up. Yeah, so
Oh, you're fully caught up.
I'm fully caught up.
Yeah, because I didn't want to say anything unless he had already
No,
seen it
yeah.
and we
We
ruined
when
it.
we talked
Yeah.
last time, I had only seen episode 1, and I was able to fully catch up this past week. Especially with the whole city shut down because somebody spilled their cup of ice on
Oh
the
my
road when it was 30
God.
something degrees outside. So happens. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, why don't you go ahead and tell us your thoughts about the season so far, and then I'll do the summary for episode 4 here in a minute.
James Gunn's a goddamn genius. He really is. This thing just goes out there. So many little twists and turns here. Some you don't see coming. I mean, you can tell they just had fun making this. They really did, especially John Cena. And it's just been fun to watch. And I know it's gruesome stuff at times, but it's so hilarious. Vigilante is so funny. He's just so out there and weird. It's crazy.
His
And
pinky toe, bro. His pinky toe.
his pinky toe. the funny part is that Cena and Robert Patrick, people forget this. They starred in the first Marine movie together,
I
like,
forgot Robert
which
Patrick
was
was in
like,
that.
yeah, he was the main villain of that, which I always call like an '80s movie made in the late '90s, early 2000s, whatever the hell it was. But even then, his character was never. I've never seen him play as crazy a character as he is now. This like super racist dad who trained his sons to kill. I mean, Gunn really went out there with this, and you almost feel like, okay, if you want me to come in and do the Suicide Squad and do this Peacemaker show, you're giving me free reign to do whatever the hell I want, and he's taking full advantage of that. So, uh, definitely not something you would see on the Disney side of things with
Oh
Guardians
no.
and whatnot. So this has really just been fun to watch, and Cena kills it. This is on the movie side of things. This is his breakout role, obviously. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm.
I'm gonna try and remember because I had on my notes for episodes 2 and 3, and then we didn't talk about it last week, and I erased them by accident. But episode 2 was really all about Christopher, aka Peacemaker, getting out of the apartment room for the woman he had a one night stand with. Ended up being
Freedom,
a that
Yeah.
freedom.
ended
Freedom.
that ended up being a butterfly. So he ends up getting out of that predicament, and then
Only to
epi- ep-
infatuate a guy's wife. That was hilarious.
gosh, that's true. And then in episode 3, they actually go out on an op to take out what they thought was a politician who was a butterfly. Ended up being their entire family who were butterflies. And Peacemaker, who has second thoughts towards the end of that mission, taking them out, ends up handing it over to Vigilante, who takes out most of the family. And then at the end of episode 3, Peacemaker and Vigilante have to go after the politician who ends up um, getting shot, and then ends up the butterfly or the alien entity that was embedded in his skull comes out, and that's where episode 3 ends. And great sort of cliffhanger
Oh,
there.
and
But
then
that
the
was episode 2
computer
and 3.
shows that the butterflies are all over the world. Like they finally, the Argus computer finally shows here's potential butterflies, and it's everywhere. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's episode 2, episode 3. Now we can get to episode 4. Episode 4, which is entitled "The Chode Less Traveled." Oh God. Here we go. Summary for Peacemaker episode 4. The team regroups and takes Judo Master hostage from the last episode. Peacemaker informs Myrn that the alien was shot to death. Dot dot dot. Peacemaker and Vigilante argue about him losing his pinky toe and how Chris's dad is racist. Then he flips out on Myrn for framing his dad, who was arrested and put into jail. Leota manipulates Vigilante into getting rid of Chris's father so he gets himself arrested, but is freed before he can actually take him out. Judo Master escapes his binds, but is shot in the chest by Leota. Somehow he survived. That's weird. Harcourt reveals to Chris that his father trained him to kill at a very young age and that his brother died under mysterious circumstances. Um, at the end of the episode, Peacemaker also lied about killing the butterfly and is now keeping it in a jar, and Myrn is secretly a butterfly himself. Dun dun dun. Joe, give us your thoughts, man, on episode 4 of Peacemaker. Your biggest takeaways and your theories going forward.
Yeah, biggest takeaways is that this is just a fun ride. No matter which way you look at it, it's always fun to watch. It's dark humor, and Peacemaker's just he's just insane. Like the dude has no filter. It's like he doesn't understand what he says sometimes, and he's offending people. That's the funny part about the whole thing, is that, oh, I didn't know I hurt your feelings, kind of thing. But I liked everything about it. You get to see his dad. Of course, the last time we saw him in episode 3, he's being put into jail, prison, wherever he's at. And everybody's like, bowing before him, the dragon, and they're all happy to see him. And it looks like his dad's having a good time being back with the guys. It's like, hey, I haven't been here for a while. It looks like a retreat to him.
Yeah.
But you start seeing Peacemaker, vigilante, and they're just nuts, dude. And then you're just seeing Vigilante's toe, still complaining about the toe throughout the whole episode. Even in the beginning of the episode, his pinky toe, and they kind of show it, and it's like halfway cut off. I'm like, the guy still hasn't like washed it out or like cleaned it or put a band-aid or nothing on it, and he's still fighting, and he's like, oh, my toe, So to me, that's freaking hilarious, dude. And then they find out, what was that girl's name?
Harcourt, Leota,
No, the other one, the African American girl. I forget her name.
Leota,
Oh,
Adebayo.
Leota.
yeah.
Adebayo, yeah, Adebayo. She is kind of coercing Vigilante. It was one of my biggest takeaways. Is she's got a little,
Little Matt Waller in her.
yeah, she's got a
Her
little
mom,
bit of her mom in her because she's
Yeah.
manipulating somebody to do her bidding. Because she tells Vigilante, oh, Peacemaker, or Chris, that's his name, would be so much better off if his dad wasn't here. So what does Vigilante do? Go and get himself thrown in jail so he can try to, go ahead and kill Peacemaker's father. And then they when they come back to the, I guess their headquarters, their makeshift headquarters, she's like, oh yeah, I kind of manipulated him. I kind of told him this, and they're like, what's
Oops.
wrong with you? We already framed his dad, he's put in jail, and now you want to kill him? Like, that's just making things worse. So they have to go back and bust the guy out, which is to me hilarious. Like, these guys getting in their own way.
Yeah.
Just when you think they're gonna catch a break, no, all shit breaks loose. Judo Master gets loose. He's a wily little sucker, dude. He just gets himself out of his shackles, and that guy goes back there to try to drug him or whatever, and he's like, oh shit, he's loose. And they're like, what? And they all come back, and then Peacemaker and him go at it, and Peacemaker's like, all right, I was gonna win that fight. And Adebayo just goes and shoots him in the chest. He's like, you took that one away from me. I was about to win this fight. But Judo Master, for being so tiny and everything, the dude survives a gunshot to the chest, and they beat the shit out of him with the crowbar. It's like, I mean, the guy's pretty resilient. It's like, is he has a healing factor or what?
How the hell is he still alive after getting hit with
Yeah.
a crowbar so many times? It's just so funny.
And then getting shot in the chest, I'm like, what, does this guy have a Wolverine heal factor or what, man? Like, he's just laying on the sofa, and they're like, they don't even care,
Could
So I'm
could
like,
be
okay.
something we find out later that there's more to him than we first anticipated.
I think so, man, because it's like they're just putting band-aids on the guy, and he's getting all busted up. He's like, he'll be
Right?
fine. He's all right, But
Walk it off. Walk it off.
yeah, but the one thing that I do get the sense of, after you see Peacemaker and near the end is really where you start to understand the trauma that his dad caused on him. I mean, even though the dad caused so much trauma in his life, he still loves his dad. He's like, that's my dad. They're like, he's an asshole. He's horrible. He's a horrible human. He's like, but that's my dad. So no matter what, that's his dad. He's still trying to do anything he can to find his dad's love and acceptance. Like, be proud of me. And the dad's just telling him the dad's a horrible human. He's like, yeah, I never loved you, this and that. I'm like, damn. And then as you start I think the big reveal is you see Peacemaker, and he's just laying at the end of the episode in his room. He's smoking some weed, and he's blowing it inside the glass jar that he has the butterfly in, and he drops the glass on the ground and everything. And he's like, Eagly tries to eat him, So I'm like, dude,
Igley, no.
Eagly, no, and he's just there checking out the butterfly, wondering what the heck this thing is. And then you see flashbacks, and it shows him fighting against his brother. Like, the dad's making them fight against each other. And that's when you kind of get the sense that Peacemaker maybe offed his brother by fighting, he was the one that was responsible.
Accidentally, yeah. It could be.
Yeah, he was the one responsible for his brother's death, and it's something that he still lives with, And then at the very end, you find out that the guy who's overseeing everybody, the leader, so to speak, of this ragtag unit,
Mern, yeah, he's a butterfly.
Mern, he's a butterfly himself. So one of the things that I did get from this whole episode is the butterflies themselves. I think there's something very telling in them. It's like they're insects, of course, but if they're insects, they probably have a hive mentality, meaning that they can all
Ooh.
communicate with one another. So if something happens to one, they instantly all know they're in danger or who did this to one of their own, Second thing is, since they are insects, they have to be reproducing, so there's some type of hive somewhere that's still allowing these creatures to reproduce and go out there and inhabit human beings, so it's a parasitic relationship. So a butterfly is in fact a parasite. It needs a host to survive,
Yeah,
so there's a lot of questions that you have, like, number one, where did they come from, you know who unleashed them, where did they crash land? Did they come in a like a meteorite? Did they land in a ship? Were they already here and somebody unearthed them? A lot of questions.
I definitely think they are of alien origins, extraterrestrial origins. We saw Peacemaker in episode 2 with the mini spaceship that was in
Yeah.
that lovely woman's apartment. Um,
She was
uh,
lovely, wasn't she? Yeah. So
Brett's still in the chat. How many actors can play the role of Robert Patrick is playing and still somehow make you like the character? Absolutely, he's
not many.
fantastic.
It's awesome.
Ryan says the show is well written and literally jokes about everything from sensitive topics to random inside jokes. He's loving it as well. Good to
And a
hear
very
Ryan's
good
loving it.
insight that about Batman. We talked about Batman earlier, but Peacemaker did kind of nail it on the head when he was arguing with the
He
neighbor.
did. Yeah. The neighbor wasn't ready for that smoke, though.
No.
He wasn't ready.
Uh,
One of the things too, Ted, that I thought was very interesting is Peacemaker's dad has a lot of knowledge when it comes to advanced physics. Like, he opens this almost like a quantum realm inside the room, where it opens a portal to another dimension, whereas that's where they store all their stuff, and then the door actually closes it and they just come back out again. I'm like, how does the guy know how to do all this? Does he have
It's pretty
some
right?
interesting.
alien tech? Does he have some alien tech or some alien knowledge, from another race or something, on how to do all this? I mean,
I think he's a supervillain, and
Well, it's White Knight.
I, I think it's a pocket dimension, not another
yeah,
dimension, but like a pocket one, sort of like
Yeah.
Strange has a glass dimension, sort of
Yeah.
something like that. But yeah, he's a freaking genius, but he's also POS. So yeah, definitely.
true that.
JC, your thoughts on episode 4, man? Biggest
Uh,
takeaways and theories going forward.
Really good. I mean, how Mern, the reveal that Mern is a butterfly is interesting. You mentioned the whole hive mentality, the spaceship earlier, um, and the biggest thing too is that Peacemaker's really traumatized by the fact that Rick Flag called him a joke right before he died. Like,
Yeah,
he's really second guessing himself about a lot of things. So, um, but I think, yeah, I think if this hive mentality with the butterflies you mentioned, they're an alien race, obviously. They're all over the world, but I think more are coming.
ooh,
I think more are on the way. Maybe they've sent out some sort of distress signal. Who knows? But if there's just some sort of like invading alien race that's like suddenly been awoken because they're being attacked, and
Maybe a first wave, JC.
yeah, this has Independence Day kind of written all over it when you think about it
There
on
you
some
go.
level. So, uh, but yeah, this is the Mern thing is interesting. How are they going to discover it? Will they discover it? Uh, how is he playing both sides of it? Like, is that a recent development? Because from what we can tell, they kind of infect people, right? Like, it's not something that they're just born a butterfly. They're infecting.
I agree.
Yeah. Brett, by the way, yeah, Chota Boy, hilarious. Cult classic movie. Uh, if you haven't seen that movie, most people haven't because of its rating, but it's such a classic cult classic type of movie. uh, Trey Parker's a genius.
Brett also says, "How jacked up would it be if Peacemaker's dad turned out to be a butterfly? That would be insane."
He'd
Wow,
have to decide to kill him or not because it's his dad. Exactly. Yeah, that'd be
I
crazy.
like I
Mhm.
like that idea. I also Joe, I like that hive mentality theory. That would be interesting if they decide to do it. Um, I feel like I watched Peacemaker a second time, and it's ambiguous who's fighting with the brother. I I kind of feel like if it's ends up being Chris who's fighting the brother, um, that's a more dramatic way of doing it. If it ends up being the dad that's beating on the brother, and the brother like goes and looks like he's having a seizure actually,
Mm-hmm.
then I feel like that gives Chris a reason to sort of finally stand up to his dad in that retrospect. Well, both would give him a reason to do so, but I don't remember seeing little Chris fighting the brother. I think there was like a crowd and you see the brother fall. I think it's meant to be ambiguous, but they can still show us in the next episode or two that it was Chris that was doing it, and the dad's forcing them to just go at it together. Um, Mern being a butterfly is interesting. I'm wondering what it is Leota found that was sort of revealing. So the woman in the apartment had a card from a company, and I don't remember what it was called,
It was a
but
bottling company.
it was a bottling company, Thai something, Thai Glam or Thai something, and but she had tied it to another case or another person, and that's what she called Mern about. I don't know if we're supposed to be able to understand or figure out on our own what she found out, or maybe it's just gonna be something they reveal going forward. But it is interesting, and I'm still waiting to see like what is Amanda Waller's um what's her point of view in all this? Because we know that Leota is covertly working for her without everybody else knowing. Does Amanda Waller know that Mern is a butterfly? I wouldn't put it past Amanda Waller to know that Mern is a butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
And if Mern is actually a butterfly, what? Why would he be leading operations to take out other butterflies? Are these other butterflies that have sort of gone rogue, and that's why he's okay with taking them out? Or has Mern, as a butterfly, gone rogue, and he's fighting back against this invasion? Maybe he's a good butterfly, and he's taking out all the evil butterflies.
And
It's a
maybe
good
it's a
question
civil
to
war.
ask. It could be a civil war. But yeah, that's the thing that was most confusing to me is why is he leading an op to kill other alien like creatures like him, because he was very adamant about killing that family in episode 3. So why was he so adamant about doing that if he is in fact one of them? If there's no reason, plot hole. But if there's a good reason, I think there will be, then we should be finding that out in the next episode or two. But yeah, very exciting. Can't wait to see what happens. We want to hear from you guys. What has been your biggest takeaway from Peacemaker episode 4, any of the episodes? Let us know in the comments below. And if not, we also just want to hear what you guys have loved about the series so far. Let us know for sure. Next, switching gears to the Book of Boba Fett, we are talking all about episode 4, Joe's favorite TV series right now.
Yep.
And I'm going to go
Mm,
ahead
it's all
and
right.
try and do a quick summary about episode 4, titled The Gathering Storm. Let's start off with, in a flashback sequence, Boba travels to Jabba's palace to do some reconnaissance, but later that night he is drawn to a flare in the distance, which leads him to the injured body of Fennec Shand. In order to save her life, Boba takes her to a mod parlor to receive a modification. Boba asks for her help in getting his ship back from Bib Fortuna as a debt owed to him. After successfully obtaining his ship, Boba gets his revenge on the Nikto bikers that slaughtered the Sand People that saved him. Boba then searches for his Beskar armor in the Sarlacc pit that he was trapped in for years. But during his search, they are attacked by the beak of the Sarlacc monster, which was not a part of the original Episode 6, but George Lucas had added in the Return of the Jedi Special Edition release. There you go.
Hmm.
We might be done with the flashbacks, in my opinion. Back at the casino in Mos Espa, Boba offers a job to Black Chrysanthemum, who's dismembering patrons, as Wookiees do. In a gathering of the crime families in Mos Espa, Boba requests that all of the families remain neutral in the upcoming conflict, which they all agree to. All Boba and Fennec lack now is an army. Fennec says credits can buy muscle if you know where to look. Gentlemen, that is my first question to you guys. Where does Boba look for muscle? JC, your thoughts, sir?
Through his bounty hunter channels. that's he's got some connections through that. The Mandalorian music kind of plays in the background a little bit there, so I think that's going to be some sort of reveal there. But uh, he'll have some connections, and who knows, maybe um, what's his face?
Mandalorian,
No, Shaq Wookie. Uh,
oh, Chrysanthemum.
Chrysanthemum, maybe he's got some connections too, and might call on some help from some fellow Wookiees that might be interested in joining the fight. Who knows?
All right, all right.
That respect. So it can come from anywhere, and but the ultimate thing is, credits can buy muscle. There's a lot of bounty hunters that'll just work for as long as they're getting paid. So, just I think that's where a lot of his support may come.
Joe, what about you, sir? Your theories on where Boba might find muscle at?
Oh yeah, I no doubt that he's going to go, to the underground and hire some muscle. And as you hear the Mandalorian little jingle playing in the background, it leads you to believe that he's going to go and hire some maybe Mandalorians to come out and help him. Because let's put it like this: if you're outnumbered, the people you want around you at that time, if you have to buy a limited amount of muscle, Mandalorians. You want them because of their fighting prowess and all the gadgetry they have inside their suits. When you get a couple of them together, they're a formidable foe. So
Yeah.
I would think that would be money well spent. And I think Fennec and him probably have the same idea. Let's go ahead and call on some old friends to come to our aid. And in fact, that would probably be Mando. Because Mando does, owe Boba a favor because Boba did help him. So that would be something. That would be a great moment in the Book of Boba, because let's face it, it's the pacing is what I've had issues with throughout this whole series. It's just been a little bit methodical, a little bit slower paced than most people would like. They kind of they're more interested into the guts of the action, but this is a slow burn, trying to build things up. I get it, so I'm gonna watch. I mean, this one was a lot better than episode 3. So we're more than halfway through already. So something needs to be delivered this next episode. Hopefully, it'll be some action. I think we're done with the flashbacks. Hopefully, we're done with the flashbacks.
Yeah, I said that too because we seem to be caught up now with
Yeah.
everything that led up to him joining in the Mandalorian. I like the theory that he will go after Mandalorians or at least bounty hunters. It's not my first choice. I think that learning in the earlier episodes in the flashbacks that there are other Tuscan tribes out on Tatooine, that he can actually reach out to them and either pay them or just ask them, because they
He's part of the
are
tribe.
sort of, yeah, I'm gonna say that he's sort of part of their group, of technically or unofficially, and he knows their traditions, and he can provide them with a number of things,
His
either
weapon.
weaponry or technology, like get them caught up a little bit, provide them things that they could they could use. Bretson here says, "Do you think you will try to get some of the Tuskegee tribes to help as well?" Tuscan, we knew what you meant. We knew what you meant. The Tuscan tribes. Yeah, I do. I think that it's the only reason why we spent, not the only reason. I think it's a better takeaway or a better payoff if those other Tuscan tribes sort of come to his aid and he has something to offer them. And I think that would be a great moment. Is it as simple as paying bounty hunters? Sure, why not?
Mhm.
Or going and getting Mando? Yeah, definitely. Does he still owe him? I think his only payment was his armor. I can't
Yeah.
remember now.
So he
So
helped him with the
maybe
armor.
they've already called it even, but yeah, he could still go and ask for help from Mando and see how that goes. But yeah, I like either way how those go. It was great seeing the beak because listen, these guys, Favreau and Filoni, have been trying to take every single complaint that Star Wars fans have ever had about the franchise as a whole and flip it so that it turns into a positive. And so all the people who hated that Lucas added the beak in with the special release for the Return of the Jedi, they took it and they flipped it and turned it into a positive. It's this great sort of monster moment where they're trying to escape this thing, and what can you say? Like, it's just them taking another thing and turning it into something to enjoy, and I absolutely love that. I think it's fantastic, it's creative, it's fun, and it's another little Easter egg moment, like the midichlorians, like all the other things they've been trying to kind of push a little bit into these new Star Wars series, and just try and bring all fans together and celebrate Star Wars once again. So
How
I
about
I,
the
I
seismic
love the moment.
charge? How about the seismic charge? That was a good callback too.
Fantastic. I loved it when we saw it in The Mandalorian. I love it again seeing this now. And I mean, for sure now, the Sarlacc pit is dead. We can all agree, right? It's dead. It's
Uh,
not coming back. It's
I
over,
don't
right?
know, Ted.
Sarlacc deep down there somewhere that wasn't hit by the sonic charge, you know. So
I don't know, man. I think that's it. I think the pit is dead, and there's no other reason to come back to it. He knows the best car either isn't in there. Well, we know now because he's wearing it now, but
yeah,
still, I think that that's it. Like, we don't need to visit the pit anymore, and I think the flashbacks are done. It started. The flashbacks started with the pit. The flashbacks end with the pit, and I think that's
especially with
it.
them showing him getting his armor back and the little quick flashback, kind of bringing us back up to speed where we were with Mandalorian sitting on the throne. You know, that little added scene that we got at the end of season 2 of Mandalorian. It's fine. Yeah, we're done. I mean, they even said he was done with the chamber, so I think he's fully healed. He's fully ready to go.
Yeah,
There you
you know, I
go.
had another theory too that I was going to share with you guys. I don't think that the biker gang is the ones that actually maybe
Oh,
offed the whole tribe of Tuscans that Boba was a part of. I think that might have been the Pikes trying to frame the biker gang, and they're just using Boba to kind of get rid of, you know, that faction of,
Mm-hmm.
let's say, people that were trying to hold them back, where they had to pay them to go ahead and pass through the territory. If they're all gone now, the Pikes are very smart and savvy, where they're like, okay, well, the Tuscans still think that they're out there and we're not going to tell them any better, but they just got rid of the competition for us, so we don't got to pay nobody. So they sit back and just revel in what they created, because that's how they are. They're just a bunch of spineless cowards, you know kind of pulling the strings like the mayor, Mos Eisley. So
Yeah.
I think that that's probably why they get along so well. They have this mantra about them, or this mentality where they always think that everybody's a lesser being, like they're the top dogs as far as how smart they are. It seems like they revel in that,
Mm-hmm.
and they look down on other people. They're overconfident.
I can see that as well. That would be a great twist. Kind of feels like Toby Maguire finding out that somebody else killed Uncle Ben rather than the guy that he originally accidentally killed in the first movie. You know, let's not get into that. Toby Maguire killed that guy.
No, I scared him more than anything, and then he just fell over. You
I
can't
mean,
kill him. I mean,
it's
He
at
didn't
least what,
push the guy.
manslaughter.
Batman technically killed Ra's al Ghul in Batman Begins.
Yes,
Nah, he just didn't have to save him. Remember?
that's at least not rendering aid.
So,
which is an offense. Anyways, I just thought about that right now. No, I like it. It'd be a cool plot twist if it wasn't the Neatco bikers. Neatco bikers.
Nikki.
Yeah,
Neat.
these Nikto bikers don't seem like they're too smart. They just
Mm-hmm.
go ahead and ride in a pack, and they got numbers, and they're just going to bully their way into to things. I don't think that it's their way to go and try to pick fights with Tuscans. There's no fun in it for them.
They felt slighted. I mean, you know, they got their butts handed to them on more than one occasion by
Well, how do they know the
by
Tuscans
Boba.
stole the How do they know the Tuskens or Boba went back
Boba
to the
Boba
Tuskens?
fought him with a gaffy stick,
Or with the
Did they
train
have?
too. I mean, or they
Did they put?
and they
Did they
found their
put?
bikes. They found their bikes with the Tuscans.
yeah.
Well, most of the bikes were destroyed. So what did they do? Put Apple AirTags on them or what?
I mean,
No, they they still had at least a couple of bikes left, right?
Apple is kind of part of Disney, so I guess it makes sense.
Hey, there you go.
You know, so.
Brett says the seismic charge from the fire spray in quotes. I know, Joe, you don't like the renaming, right, of the ship.
Uh,
No.
no, but I will think it's hilarious that he used Slave One to get back at the biker gang. So you think he's going to go in there beat their ass? No, I'm just going to fly over and just murder you guys with shooting them from the ship. I thought that was
Did you see Fennec too? She just looked at him like,
yeah,
"There you go. You got your
Yeah,
revenge." Yeah.
yeah. He didn't make a big deal of it. Just get it out of the way. You know.
Yeah. She's like, "Okay."
absolutely. All right, so we have 3 more episodes of the Boba Fett season 1 series. Theories going forward. We know there's going to be this big conflict between Boba and the Pike Syndicate. I'm always of the mindset that not everybody's gonna survive. Do we lose Fennec officially by the end of this season? Will Chrysanthemum fall during this conflict? We need Boba to stick around for another season, so that's not gonna happen. Can I just mention that I did not know Jennifer Beal, who's the sort of the manager of the casino. I did not know until like yesterday. My daughter loves watching music videos where there's like dancing involved. So we're watching we're watching the music one of the music videos for Flashdance. And I'm like, this chick looks so familiar. Why she look so familiar? That's Jennifer Beal. She's the main chick in Flashdance, which came out before I was born, but yeah, she's in the Book of Boba Fett as the manager of this casino,
Hmm.
and I just love that still John Favreau is he pulled Carl Weathers into the Mandalorian. Like he finds great roles for people who had really big careers back in the 80s, and he's doing it again by having the wonderful Jennifer Beal in the Boba Fett series. It's awesome. But anyways, I just found that out like yesterday, so I thought I'd bring that up. Theories going forward, JC, anything?
Might see some Mandalorians come back into this. I'm pretty sure we'll see Mando. Whether or not we see everyone else there, um, that's the wild card here. Don't think we'll see maybe Ahsoka Tano. I don't know if they want to promote her series, but yeah, I have a feeling we're going to see a lot, a good amount of people that we haven't seen since the Mandalorian. If the money's right, come in and try and help out. So, but that's my prediction for it too.
All right. Place your bets. Who's a big cameo we might get in the last 3 episodes?
Uh, Gosh, can't be Luke.
You can either say one that you expect and one that you just wish, like wishful thinking, bring this person back.
Uh, Sokotano, I expect, and only because we haven't seen this character technically since pretty much Solo, maybe Rebels. Uh, is some Sith, maybe Darth Maul. I don't know, because he's still alive, right? They've never really wrapped that up.
It depends on how far you are on the animated shows.
I'm not very far, so
Then that might give you a little bit more insight to what happens.
okay.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know if I can wish, but Sokotano seems to be the only one, and only because I think they might use that to springboard what they want to plan for her series too. So
There you go. Joe, what about you, man? Your any final theories going forward, or give me 2 cameos. The one you expect and one that's sort of wishful thinking.
Okay. The way I think it's gonna wind up playing out is just like Brett said. I think one of the cameos might be Bosk, the reptilian bounty hunter. That was shown in was it not Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back. So he might make an appearance. And I also think that the Mandalorian's probably going to come back and maybe make an appearance with some of his other fellow Mandalorians. It'd be interesting to see what happens moving forward because I think there's gonna be a cliffhanger at the end of this episode. And what makes sense to me, even though it might not be what everybody else wants to see, they want to see be victorious. But you can be victorious, but it doesn't mean that you have to be victorious in this season. You might have to go ahead and regain what you lost. So I think what's going to happen is that the Pikes and the Mayor are going to have some, numbers. They're going to have some weaponry. They're going to have everything they need to go ahead and just take over this territory. And I think, unfortunately, they're going to have to go ahead and send Boba in retreat. While he will survive, he's going to suffer some big casualties. I think one of those is going to be Fennec. So, unfortunately for Boba, I think we're going to see in season 2 him having to come back and get revenge for the death of one maybe Fennec and also regain his territory.
I could see that. Like I mentioned, I feel like we're due for one big death, and it Fennec is probably at the top of the list, either her or Chrysanthemum. Brett says Deng, IG88, Bosk, and Hammerhead.
Hammerhead
Oh, Dengar. Sorry about that.
and Dengar.
Dengar. Um, Hassan Terrell actually answered our Batfleck having a no kill code at least one point in his um, timeline. He says yes, and I completely agree. I totally agree, and I wish more people would understand that he did have one at some point in time. Finally, me wishful thinking. No one's talked about this. I'm not telling you I have evidence. I'm just gonna say it's wishful thinking. Um, Somewhere out there, I still believe is the Jedi Master known as Mace Windu, and we've not had any idea what he's been doing, where he's at, where he's been hiding, how he survived. But I truly believe that one day, very soon, either in one of these series, maybe the Obi-Wan series, yeah, maybe the Obi-Wan series, we will get Mace Windu. So for now, I will say my wishful thinking cameo is that we'll get Mace Windu in this series, if not the Obi-Wan series, and Sam Jackson can return in dramatic, epic fashion. And my expected one, I don't know, maybe Carl Weathers. Is he still alive in the Mandalorian series? I don't think he died off yet.
Yeah, and died. He's still alive.
Okay, so maybe we get his return. I know we got the Mando jingle. I I'm gonna go ahead and say that's expected as well, but I don't want that to be the big reveal. I want the Tuscans to still be the majority of the army, the muscle that he goes after, because I think it's just better for the story. But I'll follow suit and say, Mando showing up, definite possibility. We want to hear from you guys. What are your theories on the Book of Boba Fett? We got 3 episodes left. What do you think the big cameos will be? How do you think it's going to end? Who do you think the muscle is that Boba is going to go after? We want to hear from you. Drop it in the comments below, or you can always email us on the contact page of our website at www.countdowntothegeekcast.com. Finally, let's get into JC's favorite TV series, Superman and Lois, and we're talking all about episode 2. And of course, we're going to start off with the summary of episode 2, and it goes a little something like this. Clark reveals to Lois that the cause of his anxiety attack like episodes are visions of destruction, or visions of a cave in. Sarah drops the bomb on Jordan that she hooked up with a girl at camp, called it. Lana Lang, as a last resort, enters herself into the running for mayor of Smallville. Lois and John Henry investigate the seismic activity under Smallville. Merit Amertech. Amertech is finding, I almost said Ameritech, which is a real company. Amertech is finding X kryptonite, which gives abilities to ordinary people at their mining site. Clark battles with a thug who possibly is doping on X kryptonite, and Clark is luckily saved by the DoD's meta team, which includes Tag from season 1. Tag returns. The fans love that.
Mm-hmm.
Clark asks his brother Tal Rowe for help, who lies about not having powers anymore and attacks Jordan while Clark is having another episode. Surprise! Laura ends up being the AI in Tal's fortress, the mother of both Tal and Kal-El. She tells Clark that another being is causing his episodes. We also see a silhouette of that same being attacking miners underground, and Amertech is well aware that something has crossed into their universe. I'm putting quotes in that because I don't know if they fully understand or if they fully revealed what they think is happening. And Dr. Faulkner is actually pleased with this result. Dun dun dun. JC, your thoughts, man, on episode 2 of Superman and Lois? We are getting into high gear. This show is getting interesting quick.
It kind of went down a little bit of the path that we predicted. Obviously, Sarah was. Oh, I know Ryan. He's a dick. Um, uh, Sarah, of course. You called it. It seemed like she was hiding something. The Lana running for mayor. That's interesting. Um, I think that's going to be how. That's like the smartest thing Ryan said all night. By the way, that comment about Henry Cavill. Um, Lana, I'm interested to see what happens with Lana and how any threats are going to come to her family. We know political campaigns get crazy. And this guy that's already in place as the mayor of Smallville has been there for years. But in a way, I think all the supporters that had been running for the candidate Lana was kind of backing might like to see her there. Um, I am very excited to see Lucy Lane again. I had a feeling they were going to get back to that um, because they did kind of reveal, Lois is saying her source has been her sister. So how Lucy's going to get involved with this, and if we're going to see Lucy more often too, uh, going on in the series too as well.
Yeah, I forgot they name dropped her.
Yeah,
Get
but
to the get to the good part, bro. Get to the Shadow Underground. Your thoughts. What is happening? Tell me what's happening.
honestly, like I said, I think it's tied to the fortress. He's having visions of his ultimate demise when it comes to Doomsday. If you're talking about the vision Superman's having, right? Um,
Well, I
or
thought the visions are just him breaking through underground.
it's either him breaking through underground or it's Doomsday breaking through. You know,
No, no, no. Doomsday breaking through underground. But
consciousness is somehow tied to whatever fortress is out there. Um, although I had to shake my head, like, seriously, you're gonna believe this guy is powerless? Why the fuck are you letting Talro out of his prison? Come on, come.
yeah, that was
I was like, Jesus, keep some red sunlight on him somehow. I mean, something. There's got to be a way. Like, put some red sunlight handcuffs on there, and okay, at least take some precautions. But yeah, the Laura hologram is interesting, but it is a little bit different. It's a different consciousness of Laura
yeah.
that he's used to. So there are two different sides to that as well. Um, I do like the confidence Jordan had in supporting his dad and being more ready to fight. You can tell he's getting there, but yeah, he's still got a lot to learn. So, um, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of going the way we sort of talked about, where we predicted. This is really just kind of moving that story along, and as we've known from what they reveal, we're going to see the full Doomsday reveal in the next episode. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Gonna be amazing. Joe, your thoughts on episode 2, man. I really want to know what is happening underground, and how this company Amertech is involved.
Well, this is what I've gathered from just watching the episodes, like you guys,
Yeah, yeah.
and even season one. At the end of season one, we have Lex Luthor's daughter landing
Mhm.
right at the Kent's farm. To Lex Luthor's surprise, he's like, "Oh, she found me!" It's his daughter, the ship.
Wait, what? No, John Henry. John Henry.
John Henry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, John Henry, right? He was saying his name was Lex Luthor. Sorry, but it was John Henry. But the daughter's ship lands and she comes out. He's like, "Oh, it's my daughter. She found me." The thing is, how did she get here? She had to create some type of gateway, right, to come through.
They're
Okay,
never gonna explain that, by the way. I'm
but I'm saying,
fully believing that they'll never talk about that again.
but here's the thing, though. It's like John Henry created a gateway but it was by mistake. Trying
Right.
to use a weapon to go ahead and dispatch the evil Superman, and that's what brought him here to this Earth. His daughter did it on purpose. She found a way to get punch on through, create a small hole or gateway to come in here. My thing is, the way I think the rationale is, when you open a gateway, it opens up the realm of something else coming through. So if she came through, something else came through too, but maybe it came through and its landing point was underground. So one of the things that I'm thinking, could this actually be the Superman that we thought was dispatched? And this is that doppelganger Superman, the evil Superman that's landed or came through the gateway and maybe some type of cosmic armor and is underneath the earth trying to get his way out. I mean, one of the things is Superman draws his power from the sun. So
Mhm.
this Superman maybe he's incapable of just busting all the way through like that because he hasn't powered up, because he hasn't soaked up the sun yet, being underground and all. So to me, that would be a something that would make more sense with this storyline versus just put in Doomsday, because they said it was a cosmic being, So I don't know. To me, it just would make more sense to have that be the Superman from that other universe, or from that other Earth,
You're saying the creature underground, or the being underground, possibly being another Superman.
being that Superman from that other Earth, that John Henry came from.
That'd be interesting. I can see
Yeah,
that
it
being
kind
a
of
possibility.
yeah, it kind of fits with the storyline, So
It
the
would be a big plot twist if that was to happen. Just because the the last scene in episode 1 was like straight out of the comics, it being Doomsday punching through the wall.
Yep.
yeah,
Um so if it's a plot twist, it would be as big as them flipping the script on us, revealing that John Henry was in fact not Lex Luthor, but
yeah,
actually Steel, which was like freaking epic reveal that nobody saw coming. Nobody saw coming,
yeah. So that
especially
was
all the
my
haters.
yeah, that was my theory based on what I've seen from season 1 and then season 2. Doomsday to me just seems too easy at this point, But you can go ahead and start leading it all the way up, and at the very end of season 2, have a big reveal. It is him, Oh my God, But I think this other, theory makes a little bit more sense in line with what happened with this series already. The
Yeah.
other thing is, we all knew Sarah was cheating, and then she finally tells Jordan, breaks his little heart, So it's like, oh, poor dude, pour some out for Jordan. First heartbreak.
I mean, is it a full on heartbreak? I think he's just going to come to terms with like, hey, it happened.
For a,
Um,
for
Yeah, we'll
a, a,
see,
a
man.
teenage boy, it's a full on heartbreak. Yeah.
He's a heartbreak, dude. He's jaded, man.
how is he going to keep his superpowers in check when his emotions went crazy, right?
That's the thing.
Not gonna
It's gonna
happen.
be.
He's gonna turn Ben Affleck's Batman and start murdering people left and
Well,
right.
that's what I'm saying. It just takes that little push, just takes that little push. Maybe this is what sets him off to get like really upset, and his dad's gonna have to calm down and have a talk with him and say, "You need to calm the heck down." And, there'll be other fish in the sea. You'll find somebody else. It's just, hey, man, it's a summer fling. Who hasn't had a summer fling in
Take
summer camp, man?
take it from Clark. It didn't exactly work out with Lana. So
True that, man. Hey, but what a plot twist there, right? With Lana. I think that was another good thing that was really interesting about this episode is you have the mayor that she's trying to help, you know, get elected, and then the guy just bows out because he has an opportunity for
yeah,
him and his family to get another job. He gets a job that's going to help his family out. So he has to go ahead and bow out and move on. And Lana's trying to figure out who can she go ahead and get to run for mayor. And then she decides, hey, I'm going to go ahead and run. And then her husband gets this, I guess signatures from the guys at the firehouse that he's working at, and he's like, hey, you should run for mayor. And she's like, I already applied. So I thought
Gr-
that was pretty cool. Maybe she
Great
maybe
minds
she
think
gets it.
alike.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe she gets it. But good to see good things happening to her, because she just seemed like she was kind of unhappy with what she was doing. And now this way, it seems like she likes to make a difference. She really does love Smallville. So what, better end for this season than to have her actually win and become the mayor of Smallville. That's pretty darn cool, man.
yeah, that'd be
I
cool.
agree. I'm really, so they have this like really not very interesting subplot with Lois going on where like she wrote this hit piece on this like self-help guru that I think was this cult leader, and maybe he abused somebody she knew, a relative or someone like that. And they brought that up like in the middle of the episode, and it's interesting because there's been so many documentaries in recent years about these like self-help organizations or these yoga leaders or like all these people that ended up like abusing people in these groups. And I've watched like 3 or 4 documentaries in the last year and a half, and so interesting that they kind of threw that in there. I
I,
don't know how that's going to come back to bite Lois. It's weird that they would throw it in and not pay that off somehow, so maybe Lois gets into some sort of legal troubles. It could be something where she has to step away from this Smallville Gazette or whatever it's called. I'm not really sure. Because just her character is being drugged through the mud, so she might have to step away in order to save the reputation of this very small um, establishment, or maybe they just have to close because she can't survive the bad reputation she's about to get by essentially not doing things by the book, which they're going to try and prove. But Lois says she did everything, dotted
right.
all the I's, crossed all the T's.
Yeah. How does Lois handle cancel culture? It's funny you say that too. Is this their subtle shot at Allison Mack and Nixium?
That was one of the documentaries I saw.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm waiting for part two of that too because that's going to get interesting. But yeah, people have been wondering. Oh boy, we find all these stories about Allison Mack and the stuff she's doing while she's filming Smallville, or even shortly after. It's like, oh boy, and, uh,
And the guy that was the leader of that organization where Allison Mack was in, his mentor was one of those yoga self help guru guys, and so that totally ties into this stuff. Like,
yeah,
and then
it was yoga
and
self with a David Koresh complex. That's really what he had,
Oh God.
So, but yeah, if that's their subtle reality sort of way, great. I mean, if they use this to bring awareness to these types of things existing that women need to watch out for, by all means. But oh yeah, I mean that's her revealing her source and all that was Lucy. Be cool to see that back. Um, the trailer for the next episode, which is so far is called "The Thing in the Mines." So we're gonna find out what it is for sure. Um,
absolutely,
and the trailer's already revealed that Lois's dad, General Sam Lane, is gonna be making an appearance. Um,
finally,
yeah, obviously with him being retired, I don't know how much help he's going to be, but maybe he'll give some insight onto how Clark can deal with lieutenant that's tried to start his own army of metahuman Kryptonian shit. So
Yeah. Throughout the episode too, I get the feeling that Chrissy, the girl that's in charge of the Smallville Gazette,
mhm.
she's had about enough with Lois already. She's ready to just, you know what, you're fired. Just go ahead and leave. I don't want to deal with this anymore. Um, even though Lois is a good reporter, Chrissy's just tired of dealing with it. She did. I don't think she understood that when she brings Lois on board, she's going to deal with all the other ramifications that go along with it because she is such a high level reporter in
all
the
the
public
baggage.
eye. Yeah, and all that baggage that goes along with it. I think it was easier for Lois to hide behind all that because in Metropolis, with the Daily Planet, every big organization always has lawyers, and those lawyers were probably vying for the Daily Planet. She didn't have to worry about it, just go out and report stories. But in Smallville, she doesn't have that luxury. So I think she's starting to find out that just being her has ramifications on Smallville and on this Gazette. So if I have to be a betting man, I would think Lois would just go ahead and gracefully walk away from it.
and
Yeah, and that's what I mentioned. I think that they're trying to show us some struggle that Lois is going to have in this role, and the only two ways I think it can go down is like you said, Chrissy either fires Lois or Lois just has to step away because she's getting her name dragged through the mud by whoever this yoga master is. and that's going to do some things. The only other takeaways or questions I had was Ameritech, not Ameritech, which is a real company.
Man, you keep looking
Amertech.
behind yourself, man. You owe somebody money, dude, or
No,
what?
my son keeps walking in and out of his room, and I can feel the footsteps. I'm like, "What is that?" It's my son walking
Well, I
out of
was
his room.
entertained because I could see your little girl running behind you. You know,
Oh yeah, she scared me too because she like all I hear is little footsteps running, and I'm like, "What is that?"
well,
Anyways,
she's the star of the show. She's the star.
she absolutely is. Amertech. We now know that Amertech is doing things, doing some sneaky things, nefarious things. Um, they are conducting an experiment, and I think it's probably something that we're now used to, which is transporting persons or things between multiple Earths. It sounds like they have some underground experiment which is pulling things from other universes into ours. Ours, theirs. That's what it sounds like. I really doubt they're creating a doomsday. That would be something that seems like it's too far of a reach. But
Yeah.
we've already seen John Henry and Natalie come from another Earth. They're be able to transport or transition between universes. So I feel like they're trying to do the same thing. Could they have tried and figured out how to do this in the last 3 months, or earlier, since John Henry has gotten here? I mean, I don't even know how long he's been on this earth, but it's been longer than 3 months, right?
Yeah. You
So
would think it's. Did they witness Natalie coming to Earth? Like, did they investigate that? That sort of thing.
that's what
Which
I'm thinking.
does go back to what Joe was saying. Like, maybe somehow this doomsday is being transported. You know, uh,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's an interesting take, and God, why? You know why? What is? Yeah, it's just
Yeah, it 'cause she was very pleased with the fact that this was a very powerful thing that came through, and it sounded like she made a reference to it coming here or it coming through or breaking through, not like it is alive. We did it. We resurrected so and so. I don't think this, and I do think it's a doomsday. I don't think this doomsday was always underground. I think they are pulling it from somewhere. And so I uh, I also am wondering because we've seen the death of Superman already in live action form by a Doomsday. I feel like doing it a second time so soon would be redundant. Do we perhaps not lose the Man of Steel, but perhaps this time around we ended up losing Steel? And losing John Henry instead of Superman would be a different take on the comics. But we sort of have Natalie now to kind of take that spot. If we ended up losing John Henry, I think that would be more interesting. Is if we don't see Clark fall again to a doomsday, but maybe this time around we see John Henry fall.
or both.
No, what?
I
And
mean,
then Jordan takes over? What happens then? No, man.
you know, uh,
You can't lose both Supermen.
he could.
I don't know. That
I don't.
seems
You
like
ain't
too
gonna do
much.
that on Superman and Lois. This is a TV show.
I know, right?
It's just gonna be Ann Lois.
Yeah,
The Ann Lois TV show.
Lois and two,
Oh.
Lois and kids plus whatever. It's yeah. I that's gonna be this is where I still think we're gonna Superman's gonna die at the end of the season with Doomsday. You're always fearful of that, but I think a lot of the why this may be different this time around is we've never seen that play out when Superman's a father.
Mm.
That's the interesting thing. How are John and Jordan going to handle losing their dad and then potentially be resurrected? We think, um, how does that play out? I don't know. It's too early to tell right now. But every time I see Doomsday appear on TV, that's always a fear I have as a dire Superman fan, and that the moment I realized it was going to happen in BVS, I started to get a little emotional too because I remember reading the comic when it happened. when it first came out. I still have the comic tucked away, so I know that feeling it brings out. And you know, uh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how this Doomsday is. It depends on how they explain how this Doomsday appeared. Um,
I start dancing when I feel like I'm tapping into the writers' room, and I feel like I kind of see what's coming, and
yeah,
now I'm dancing because I'm getting that feeling again. So they're
What if
introducing
it's
X.
Cyborg Superman? What if it's
Bro,
Cyborg
I wasn't
Superman?
just talking.
Because you're saying, "Oh, I'm going to the writers' room." You all are all Google Gaga over Doomsday. I'm like, what if it's Cyborg Superman?
It's got to be Doomsday. You don't put in the scene at the end of episode 1 and not let it be Doomsday. It's like
What if
showing Batman's cowl and it ended up being Batmite. Like you wouldn't
what
do
if
that.
DC's just trolling the fans?
You,
That'd be funny.
no, they can't do that. They gotta get some wins in the win.
they cannot, just do that shit. I mean, come on.
Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm thinking. Go with me here.
All right,
Clearly they've introduced X Kryptonite, and they've already quickly introduced how easily it can be, how accessible it is in Smallville, and how it can be utilized. Right? We've
right.
seen how it can be utilized. Some dude whooped Superman's ass, and I mean, granted, he was having an episode when it happened, but some dude started doping on X Kryptonite and really held his own against the Man of Steel. And I think we're also led to believe that not Jordan, who's the other brother?
John.
John. Yeah. John's friend, who I don't remember his name, is quite possibly also doping on X Kryptonite because the dude's able to bench 300 pounds plus now. And so it's like you can get X Kryptonite as a teenager in Smallville High. That makes it extremely accessible. And I feel like John's going to want to understand what's happening, find some X kryptonite, and there could be a moment where he will need to use whatever that breathable device is and dope on some X kryptonite in order to save his father or his brother in the time of need. And you know what's more interesting than seeing Superman fall, Clark fall to the hands of Doomsday? Seeing one of the sons. Ooh, that's great TV. Like, I know that sounds dark and stuff, but that's to me way more interesting than seeing two sons and Lois sort of what's it called, grieve over the loss of Clark. Seeing Superman grieve over the loss of
That's the
a
worst.
son.
Yeah. And how does Superman and Lois come back from that if that were to happen? Talk about something pushing someone over the edge. That'll do it. Um,
Bro,
yeah,
bro. And that just popped into my head. If you're asking me what's the most interesting thing to see at the end of the season, or maybe in the next season, is maybe maybe at the hands of Doomsday, maybe at the hands of somebody else, but Clark losing one of these sons, hopefully not too soon because they're both very cool. But it is interesting that they're introducing X Kryptonite, and that it's somehow getting in the high school. Like what? How? But
pharmaceutical companies, man, they got their hand in everything.
but it's got to lead to something, and that's kind of where my head's thinking is that John's gonna somehow want to get some of his hands on some of it in order to live up to Jordan's spotlight. Now he's no longer the golden son. Now John sort of fell into the back seat of their eyes, and he no longer, and Jordan gets all the attention now. So I could see that being something that they try and explore. I should
Yeah,
write
I
these
think they're going
shows.
to wind up getting in some arguments here because I think that's something that's going to be coming to a head here pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
Cool. That was awesome. Yeah, show is freaking cool. It's so exciting. It's so interesting. The next episode, it's really going to um it's really going to blow all of our minds. I feel like they're building up to something really spectacular, and so far it's been pretty awesome. Listen, that'll do it for this episode of the Countdown to the Geekcast. Next week get ready, folks, because we're gonna change up our schedule a little bit. We're gonna continue talking about these three shows probably later this week, but next Monday, January 31st, same Geekcast time, same Geekcast channel, we're gonna be doing part two of the Great Spidey Debate.
Oh, this image came out officially just in time for that graphic. Did it ever? So
It sure did. It sure did. This is an official release by Marvel and Sony, so don't get mad at me when you see it. Not me, not my fault, folks. Not my fault. But Rob will be back on the show. We have not heard from the biggest Spidey fan of our group, and his thoughts about No Way Home. So we can't wait to have him on the show. We'll have Elliot hopefully back. Peoples, who's been on the show before, he'll be back on the show to talk about Spider Man No Way Home. And it's going to be exciting. It'll be less about the scenes and the play by play of the movie like we've already done. We've already done a review. It'll more be about what this film means to us as comic fans, as fans of Spider-Man. Who can we now say is the best Spider-Man? I think we've
still,
all had
still Andrew Garfield.
I think we've all had enough evidence for all three main actors now, and we can finally have a solid debate on who's the best Spider-Man, who's had the best arc, or just how you want to discuss it. But that's going to be going down next Monday night, the Great Spidey Debate Part Two. And if you want to catch part one, it's still on our YouTube channel at Countdown City Geeks. It was hilarious. It was Rob versus Eliud. I think Eliud was taking the part of Toby
They were
Maguire,
debating who was a better. Was it Tobey Maguire or Tom Holland?
and Robert was taking the side of Tom Holland, and
Yes.
that was a great debate. It was so much fun. I
Yeah.
highly recommend you go check it out. Countdown City Geeks YouTube channel, the Great Spidey Debate Part One, which is on there, and
Mhm.
Part Two next Monday. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that'll do it for the Countdown to the Geekcast. Once again, we want to hear from you. Tell us what you thought about Boba Fett, Peacemaker, Superman and Lois. What a great time to be a geek. All these fantastic shows that we're just
Mhm.
loving right now. Some of us more than others. For you people who aren't liking Boba Fett as much. But we want to hear from you. Drop it in the comments below. What are your biggest takeaways? What have you loved so far? What have you not liked so far? Let us know, or you can send us a message on Facebook by clicking that send a message button, or you can always email us on the contact page of our website at www.countdowncitygeekcast.com. For the Geekcast, my name is Steady. With me on this episode is the man, the myth, the legend, you know him as JC.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it. We'll catch you next week. Great Spidey Debate 2. We got to make sure we have drinks, though, just like we had in the first one. Make sure.
Oh my
Yes.
Absolutely. JC,
Yes.
bust out the cider.
I'm going to get me some. Yeah, for sure.
It's gonna
I mean,
be a
Royal
two
Rumble's
beer
this
night.
weekend, so I'm going to be talking about it. Oh, yeah. So tomorrow, WrestleCast, we're previewing the Royal Rumble. Check us out, Countdown City Geeks YouTube page.
We need to get Joe in on the Royal Rumble. We're gonna do a big Royal Rumble thingy, right, JC? Again,
Maybe, yeah. It's on a
in
Saturday
in
this year,
some
so there's
way.
in some way the Rumble is on a Saturday this year, which is a good thing. Saturday pay per views are so much better for wrestling, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot more talk about it. Uh, although I got to see how Mike's going to want to watch it because he's so fed up with WWE he canceled his Peacock subscription. But yeah, yes, that is true. He did do that, so we'll figure this out and see what happens. So.
He's gonna come and mooch off of you, JC.
I don't mind it if he does. Yeah, so we're all vaccinated here, so yeah. So
And last but definitely not least, the man behind the magic, the one and only Joe Garcia.
Hey, everybody, thanks for watching. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe and like and spread the word about the Countdown City Geekcast. We enjoy doing the show because of you guys, and it's not possible without your support. So thank you again for watching and listening. Greatly appreciate it.
Shout out to Brett. Shout out to Ryan. Shout out to Hassan Terrell. Shout out to Rudy. Everybody in the chat tonight. You guys were awesome. Hope to see you again next week. And be on the lookout. I'll just say that we have some events in the works right now, some that I'm very excited about. More to come very soon. Can't wait to announce them. Just need to make sure that everything is set, ready to go. Rudy, you'll be first to know, sir, because you're gonna love what's coming up for us.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, exciting. All right, have a good night. We'll see you next week, if not sooner. Check us out and wait for the Royal Rumble announcement because I'm sure we're gonna be doing some sort of live stream. It'll be epic. It'll be awesome. Get ready. Let's have some fun. Have a
Yep.
good night.